You're lying in bed, eyes shut, heart still. The world goes silent, and then you dream. But this time, something's wrong. There's a sound, metal, scraping metal, a shadow in the boiler room, and a voice, gravelly, mocking, calls your name. You try to wake up, but you can't, because the nightmare has already started, and in it, he's waiting. Freddy Krueger, the man with the clawed glove, the burnt skin, the fedora. He's not a ghost, he's not a man, he's something worse. A monster born from fire and revenge. He doesn't just kill you, he makes you fear sleep itself. He's been haunting dreams since 1984. But his story, it started long before the screams, before the sequels, before the one-liners, before the nightmares. There was a man, a past, a crime, and a town that thought it could bury the truth. But the thing about nightmares, they always come back. This isn't just the story of a horror icon. It's the tale of how vengeance and evil twisted into something eternal. So if you think you're safe because it's only a dream, think again. Because once you know his name, you're already his next victim. Freddy doesn't need to chase you in the dark. He waits for your mind to drift, for your defenses to fall. Then he strikes, where you're weakest, where you think you're alone. Because Freddy isn't just in movies, he lives in imagination, in fear passed down from generation to generation. He's the whisper that turns a dream into a scream. And the truth is, he wasn't always a dream demon. He was once a man, one who wore a mask of normalcy, who hid horror behind a smile, but horror doesn't stay buried forever. And when the fire came, it didn't end him, it unleashed him, because some evil doesn't die, it transforms. And Freddy, he became fear incarnate. So lock your doors, stay awake, tell yourself it's just a story, because tonight you'll meet him, and if you're lucky, you'll wake up. Before he was the dream killer, Freddy Krueger was just a man, but not a normal one, not even close. He was born from darkness, literally. His mother, Amanda Krueger, was a nun. She worked in an asylum, locked inside with the worst criminals imaginable. And one night, during a holiday shutdown, she was trapped, assaulted by hundreds of inmates. Freddy was the result. They called him the bastard son of 100 maniacs. He grew up hated, abused by his foster father, mocked by other kids. But instead of breaking, he became something cold, something twisted. He started hurting animals, then himself, then others. By the time he became an adult, Freddy had mastered the mask. He looked like a janitor, quiet, forgettable. But behind that look, he was a monster. He built a secret room in the boiler room of a school. There, he lured children. He became the Springwood slasher, a serial killer who preyed on the innocent. He was caught, arrested. But a legal technicality, an unsigned search warrant, set him free. And the town snapped. The parents of the victims hunted him down, cornered him, burned him alive. They thought they ended the nightmare. But Freddy didn't die. He changed. Because death wasn't the end for him. It was only the beginning. He died screaming in the flames. But his soul, it didn't rest. Something darker found him. In the dream realm. It offered him a deal. A chance to keep killing. Not in the real world, but in sleep. Where no laws applied. Where parents couldn't protect their children. And Freddy accepted. Because all he ever wanted was fear. And now he had the power to live in it. To feed on it. He forged his signature glove, razor blades on each finger, not to fight, but to play, to savor each scream. Freddy didn't just want revenge. He wanted to become legend. And he did. The kids of Elm Street started dying in their dreams, but no one believed it. How could they? The killer was dead. But every child knew the truth. They saw him when they closed their eyes. They heard the screech of metal. They begged to stay awake, because sleep wasn't rest anymore. It was a death sentence. And Freddy, he loved every second. Because now the fear never ended. It just started when your eyes closed. The fire was supposed to be justice. The flames were meant to erase him. But fire doesn't purify everything. Sometimes it transforms. When Freddy Krueger died, he didn't just vanish. He crossed a threshold into the dream world, a place of thought, fear, memory, a place where monsters can become gods. There, Freddy made a pact with something ancient, an evil force that lived in nightmares. In exchange for his soul, he was granted power. Immortality in dreams, no longer bound by flesh or rules. He became a nightmare that could kill. In the real world, his name became a whisper. But in dreams, he was a god. He could twist reality, control space, turn the safest places, like bedrooms, into slaughterhouses. He didn't just kill, he played, mocked, toyed with his victims until their screams echoed into the waking world. He thrived on fear, and the more you feared him, the stronger he became. Freddy learned to blend fear with humor, to make his murders theatrical, because terror to him was entertainment. He didn't hide in the dark, he wore it like a crown, and every burned inch of his face was a symbol not of pain, but of rebirth. He wasn't Freddy the janitor anymore, he was Freddy the nightmare, the demon, the legend. He started appearing in the dreams of Elm Street's children. Not all at once, but slowly, one by one. Each death looked like a suicide or an accident, but they knew. The survivors whispered his name, shared the rhyme, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. A nursery chant twisted into a warning. Parents denied it, authorities ignored it, but Freddy didn't care. He wasn't after belief, he was after fear, and as his legend grew, so did his reach. He was no longer bound to Elm Street, no longer limited by logic. Freddy could become anything in a dream. He turned beds into traps, bathtubs into graves, walls into bleeding mouths. And the worst part? If you died in the dream, you died for real. The only escape was to wake up. But Freddy was patient. He knew everyone had to sleep eventually. Even the strongest minds break. Even the bravest hearts close their eyes. And that's when he strikes, with a laugh, a blade, and a final scream that echoes in the silence. Because Freddy isn't a dream. He's the fear of dreaming. He's the truth we try to forget when we turn off the lights. And once he finds you, you're his forever. Freddy doesn't stalk you on the street. He doesn't hide in closets. He waits until your eyes get heavy, until your breathing slows, until your mind starts to drift. Then he enters, because Freddy lives in dreams. And in dreams, he's untouchable. He controls the rules. He rewrites gravity, physics, logic, reality. He becomes your worst fears, your childhood trauma, your deepest secrets, all twisted into one clawed nightmare. You can't run from him, because he's already inside your head. He might appear as a friend, a loved one, a stranger. Then he reveals the glove, and you know it's over. But Freddy doesn't just kill. He breaks you first, turns your dream into a game, where the goal is survival. And you always lose. He knows your limits. He knows when you'll fall asleep. He knows when your mind starts to slip. And when you beg to wake up, that's when he smiles. Because the more afraid you are, the stronger he gets. He isn't hunting bodies, he's feeding on fear. And the more people whisper his name, the more power he gains. Because Freddy is an infection, passed through fear, memory, belief. And once he enters your dream, you're not sleeping, you're sinking. He thrives in liminal spaces, boiler rooms, dark hallways, endless staircases that lead nowhere, each dream a maze, each victim trapped in their own mind. And he loves it, because Freddy isn't just a killer, he's an artist. Every nightmare is a masterpiece of suffering. He'll turn your bed into a coffin, your school into a slaughterhouse, your childhood home into a torture chamber, and no matter how loud you scream, no one hears you. Because outside your body sleeps. Inside, you're dying. The real terror of Freddy Krueger isn't the glove. It's the idea that your mind isn't safe, that no amount of light or locks can stop him, that sleep, the one place you should be, you never wake up the same. Freddy Krueger isn't just a horror villain, he's a cultural scar. A reminder that fear doesn't sleep. He's been burned, buried, and rebooted, but he always comes back. Because Freddy isn't just in movies, he's in our heads. He represents something deeper, the fear of losing control, the fear of being vulnerable, the fear that evil can wear a human face and smile. Freddy's glove is iconic. But what really terrifies us is the idea that we can't protect ourselves when we sleep, that the mind, our last refuge, can be breached, that something as natural as rest can be turned into a death sentence. He turned dreams into danger and became a symbol of how horror hides in plain sight. He's not a vampire or a ghost. He was a man, a product of abuse, neglect, and rage. And that realism made him more terrifying than any monster. He doesn't haunt castles. He doesn't rise from the grave. He shows up when your eyes close. And that's why he endures. Because as long as we sleep, we're never safe. And as long as we dream, Freddy will always be waiting, with that glove, that laugh, and that smile. He blurred the line between reality and nightmare, between punishment and revenge, between justice and horror. Freddy asks us what happens when society fails, when pain is ignored, when monsters wear ordinary faces. He isn't just fear in the dark. He's the fear we carry in silence, that no one will believe us, that our screams will go unheard, that even when the monster is gone, the damage remains and the legend grows. Because horror is more than blood. It's memory, repetition, myth. And Freddy became all three. He wasn't just a killer in a dream. He became the nightmare of a generation. And now, he's not just part of horror history. He's a symbol of it. Immortal, burned into pop culture, into our minds, into the shadows behind our eyelids. Because Freddy Krueger doesn't die. He waits and he laughs. He started as a man, died as a monster, and returned as something worse. A nightmare that walks, a scream with a face. Freddy Krueger isn't just a villain, he's a legacy. A reminder that pain ignored becomes terror reborn. That vengeance, when twisted, doesn't stop. It spreads. He doesn't haunt Elm Street anymore. He haunts our culture, our fears, our sleep, because Freddy doesn't knock. He slips in, when we're weakest, when we're most human, and he turns our rest into his stage. He's not a ghost story. He's a warning about what we bury, about what we fear, and about what happens when justice burns and horror survives. So next time you hear the rhyme, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Don't take it lightly, because the glove, the laugh, the legend, it all comes back in your dreams. And if this journey through the origin of Freddy Krueger gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe for more dark origins, and drop a comment below. What's your favorite Freddy moment? And remember, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Because sleep is supposed to be safe, but Freddy turned it into a trap. A place where the past returns, where guilt lives, where fear walks with claws. And every time someone whispers his name, he gets stronger. Because nightmares never truly die. They just wait for the right moment to crawl back into your mind.